Greetings. Found some very interesting information about Georgiana Spencer Cavendish. Yes, you read that right, this woman is an ancestor of Lady Di, and the more interesting is her story. So, she was born in quite a happy marriage, from parents who love each other, which in general was atypical for England 18th century, where spouses often after the wedding cooled down in their feelings and quickly acquired a slew of mistresses and lovers. True, to conclude this marriage was not easy, for both lovers a young man of 20 years named John, the first Earl of Spencer, the richest groom in England in the middle of that century, and 17-year-old Margaret Georgiana Poyntz, not at all generic daughter of a diplomat. True, John was troubled by a vague doubt, viz. This was a passing fancy the family would not approve of the marriage. And so, to sort out these two contradictions, John Spencer goes on a year-long journey to do some sensitive errands for the crown and to test his and his girlfriend's feelings. Checked. Feelings haven't gone cold. And now nothing stood in the way of this not quite equal marriage. They married very original. Married secretly right during the ball with 500 guests, which Spencer arranged in his estate. And only 5 days after the ball, the couple recognized the marriage. Margaret turned out to be a good wife. Faithful, economic, intelligent, well-read. All would be well, if not for one, but she was a gambler who loved gambling, because of which after the death of John Spencer, their children instead of a huge inheritance, went to the same huge debts. Margaret, by the way, after the promulgation of the will for the first time realized what abyss plunged the family into, and gave up her addiction. You can imagine what it cost her. But it was too late. Of Margaret's 5 children, 3 survived. Georgiana, Henrietta and George. Here we must make one clarification from the very beginning: the children grew up in an atmosphere of love, understanding, mutual respect. And so when 17-year-old Georgiana was married to, as he was called, the most enviable groom in the country, William Cavendish, 5th Duke of Devonshire, she was shocked by the duplicity of her betrothed, who just before their marriage gave birth to a daughter from a completely foreign woman. And further, Cavendish himself, such concepts such as marital fidelity did not bother. And with a girl born out of wedlock, Justin began the most intrigue of all the further relations of Georgiana with her husband. The fact is that she began to bring up her husband's illegitimate daughter as her own child. Moreover, she fell in love with this girl, especially since the couple had no children of their own for a long time, for which her husband constantly reproached Georgiana. Then she gave birth to 2 daughters, which was again wrong in the eyes of her husband, since he expected an heir. The tragicomedy of the situation was that in the thoroughly puritanical English high society, adultery was not considered something extraordinary. A married lady could have a lover, and it would not cause even a little gossip in the society, except a little. However, with one caveat: the lady could have an affair on the side only after she had given her husband a male heir. So when the heir to the 5th Duke of Devonshire finally appeared, the Cavendish couple have long and firmly become strangers to each other. Secular, very numerous England followed her with morbid curiosity when this brilliant young woman, erudite and interesting conversationalist, having a lot of money, will stop grieving because of the inattention of the spouse. And the Duchess of Devonshire did not deceive expectations. She began to spend mind-boggling sums on her outfits, very quickly becoming for the whole of England an icon of style, when even stockings were embroidered with pearls and precious gems. Then, at the balls organized by her, in her salon constantly jostled elbow the most famous people of the time up to the future King of England George IV and the French Queen Marie Antoinette. What else? Mention that she was amused to many male creators, including the famous painter Thomas Gainsborough, with whom she was rumored to have had an affair. And even a lazy person did not talk about the Duchess's interference in the political arrangements of the time. And finally, the main thing. She was as gambling as her mother. That, as we remember, from his pernicious passion got rid of, albeit belatedly. But her daughter inherited her main vice. Georgiana gambled wherever she had the opportunity. Every night. She fought hard to get her husband to allow her to have gambling nights at home. Visited gambling establishments, finally an unheard of liberty for a lady at that time. And she was not interested in winning much, she was fascinated by the process of playing. And since she was unlucky in the game, then at the card tables, she wasted truly huge sums, so that after years, possessing a huge fortune, Duke Cavendish suddenly, unexpectedly for himself, was on the verge of ruin. In the south of England there is a little town called Bath, famous for its spas with healing waters. The place was fashionable among the English nobility, and Georgiana could not miss the annual trips there. And so in 1782, she got a friend there, Lady Elizabeth Forster. And the acquaintance became in a sense fatal, as the Duchess sheltered the poor thing in her house, and the latter thanked, quickly becoming the mistress of the husband of the Duchess. A scandal, you say? Not a bit of a scandal. The women remained friends, now sharing one man for 2. And the children. What about the children? They lived together in the same house, as a family. 2 children by Elizabeth, and 3 by her lawful wedded wife. Ah yes. The Duke eventually took her 2 eldest sons from Elizabeth's estranged husband, also settling them under the roof of his house. Don't forget the husband's eldest daughter, actually adopted at one time by Georgiana. An idyll, would you say? Yes, yes. You should have seen the hysteria that Cavendish's wife threw when she told him that she was expecting a child with her lover, Charles Grey, the second Earl of the family. The woman naively thought that if her husband could carry the fruits of his passion on the side, so could she. And the fact is that if Georgiana had a boy, then in the case of the death of the legitimate son Cavendish, Cuckoo would inherit his entire fortune. In general, the wife, to hide from the public embarrassment, sent to give birth in France, where she was safely resolved by a girl named Eliza Courtney, adopted, after all, the couple Grey, as Cavendish categorically refused to take her into their home. And the birth mother of the girl all her life considered her godmother. With such a way of life, the death of 48-year-old Georgiana from an abscess of the liver caused in society only a slight gossip. And Elizabeth soon became the next Duchess of Devonshire, as her lawful husband also went to the next world. The most passions began after the death of the Duke, as Elizabeth tried to rewrite the state and real estate to her children. However, the English laws on this account were inexorable. All remained to the children of Georgiana. In this stepmother they kicked out, continuing, however, communication with her children, thus redeeming the harsh situation in which they had existed all their lives due to the fault of their parents. Thank you for watching.